This is episode 20 of Pucks, Putts, and Properties.
What is it that we got to get to? That
21.
Oh, Jesus.
99% of podcasts or something like that don't reach episode 21.
I know.
We had a bit of a hiatus.
But it's a long winter, though.
Right. Well, especially for you with your involvement in hockey and all the travel you do. So it feels like it's a good time to get back on. Let's get a few in over the next month before the kids are out for school. Would be great. I'm really happy we're doing this again, though.
Yeah, me too. And it's funny, like, remember we had Corey Cooper on the show? Do you remember?
Great guest.
Yeah, awesome guest. Remember we talked about how minor hockey parents, they lose the wires crossed as students like get into a hockey rink?
Where are we going here, Danny?
Well, you can like edit this and put in that quote, because I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter what the dads or the moms do. I've seen like former NHL players, like business owners, like multi-million-dollar investors lose their wires with minor hockey. Like it affects everybody. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The things that I saw and went through this year. I don't want to dive deep into that. All I'm going to do is just preface it by showing that clip with Coop saying that.
I tell this all the time. When I go to minor hockey tournaments, right? Or it doesn't matter what level. I'm watching the U14 OHL Cup. I'm at the U16 OHL Cup. I just pop in a rink. Often just watching hockey, I will start with the parents. That's the starting point for me, right? And I tell you right now, I've seen some parents that just get off the charts, okay? and for me, it's like, this is the truth, guys. It certainly is, right? But it doesn't matter how educated you are. For some reason, if you step in the rink and your kid's playing minor hockey, your brain cells just disappear for a couple hours.
I'm laughing because I see it all the time.
It happens all the time. So I have taken guys off our list, right, at the U16 draft because of parents.
It's like one of those Game of Thrones winters where it felt like it was 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good, though. But anyway, spring's out. The leaves are budding.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do right now, we'll come back on after our guest, and talk about the NHL playoffs, which we're in the midst of.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some golf. Right after our great guest that we have on. It's a little bit different this week. You will not meet a finer person than Hal Cain. So we're gonna send it over without further ado to Dr. Hal Cain. Dr. Hal Cain, like I just said a minute ago, I've never called Hal doctor in my life because he's a dear friend of mine, and you will not meet a finer person. And he's got such a diverse background, Danny. Like, this is going to be so fun with Hal. From riding bucking Broncos in Texas to rehabilitation support here in Kingston. We're just so lucky to have Hal on. And I just want to briefly say how this came to be. Not that I wouldn't have asked Hal to be on our show, but we were involved in a charity auction at our curling club that we play at. And unbeknownst to me, there was an item put on the table which was a guest spot to our podcast. And not only did we get one bidder on it, we've got two. So we've got a second guest coming up, but Hal bid on it. And Hal, with what you do for work, can you talk about a service like Almost Home and what important services they provide to our community?
Sure. Almost Home is it's the ability to have families be close to people who are in hospital, and a way to support what is going on with the person who's in the hospital, a kid or it could be a young adult or whomever, to make sure that that family support, which is very important, is nearby while the treatment's being done.
Nice. Yeah. In your professional, how critical is the housing support for families going through, the medical treatment?
Well, most of my things, Danny, that I've worked with in rehabilitation and disability have been more adjustment and to disability. And that first part, especially on an acquired disability, or if there's a procedure that is being done, say a person is born with spina bifida, they're in hospital a lot, so that family being able to be there is just really critical for that medical part of the rehab process. And it's kind of where it starts, and being crucial to, of course, the biological, getting the person physically better, but the social and psychological process that is involved with that needs to be tied in. And Almost Home is a organization, it's a house that really helps support that psychological and social perspective.
Nice.
Yeah, moving along to you personally, if your younger rodeo self saw you now, did that person see what you're like? Was it always a goal of yours to be in the profession that you landed in?
That's a great question. No, when I was growing up, and I have to say my rodeo career was really mostly limited to high school and a little bit after high school. When I was going through high school, I thought I'm going to be in agriculture or forest ranger, something along that line. But one of the books that I picked up and was recommended when I was rodeoing to help me with rodeoing, which has lots of psychological aspects. You have to get prepared mentally to get on an animal that's, 1,000 pounds and more. And so the book was called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it was written back in the 60s by a guy, Maxwell, I'm blanking on his last name anyway, but Luntz, I believe. And it was all about making changes in your life and setting yourself up in your image. So that sort of hooked me a little bit into psychology. I had a biology teacher in high school who taught us progressive muscle relaxation, which is something that later on I connected with both through my training and practice as something very useful in the field. So there were all these little hints. And I was always the person in high school that no matter what was going on, I was trying to help people. So I think it all culminated into my profession as in counseling and psychology.
Yeah. Well, can you speak a little bit about that as far as like the psychology about relaxation? You must have done a lot of visualizations and before riding that bull. And if anyone's been to a PBR, I was able to go to like a Houston bull riding show 3 times in a row. And like there's a band, it's unbelievable.
I love the rodeo. The rodeo is so fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Can you talk about getting on like 1,000-pound animals and like how not to make it angry and like what they do with the hand? Like I'm surprised more guys don't break their wrist on this stuff.
Well, so my event was not bull riding. It was bareback bronc riding. So I've only been on a couple of bulls in my life. And I decided that any animal that would come back after you were off, just didn't want to quite take it that far. But so I did bareback bronc. But the process for the rodeo cowboy getting on the animal is going through getting what information you know about that particular bucking stock, that horse in my case. So you talk to other people, what's some of the tendencies. Horses, animals are just like any other animal, humans included, that they have these little tendencies. So you expect them perhaps to do what people have told you. This horse comes out and it goes left or right or whatever. But the thing that I also learned is that prepare myself for anything. So animals, just like humans, are predictable to a point, but as individuals in any circumstances, those can change. That ties back into rehabilitation, because we know that individual rehab is not a cookie cutter, a recipe. It is, you're working with individuals with numerous aspects in their lives that only that person really can understand.
So let's dive into that a little bit more. It's funny, like we've known each other for, 15 years or so, Hal. And we were talking last night in preparation for this. I've never talked to you before about your professional career. It's interesting because we always have great conversations, but for whatever reason, we have so much to talk about when we meet that we have never talked about this. So tell us exactly what rehabilitation counseling is.
So that's a great question. It's a good to understand that rehab counseling as a profession is working with individuals in making life changes. And mostly we associate that with disability or substance abuse sometimes. It also involves corrections. So in different settings, somebody who's transitioning or in the correction system receives counseling to help them move on in their life. So it's a broad-based profession. My particular interest in research has always been in transition for young adolescents, children, adolescents, and young adults who are moving into different life phases because of an acquired disability, or their it could be a birth defect or birth disability.
Yeah.
So
can you talk about some of the pain points you're going through right now on the day-to-day, and maybe some of the changes that you'd like to see, or if you could wave a magic wand and make those changes today, what would that look like?
Well, yeah, so I have to, that's a good question, Danny. So let me just kind of preface this by I'm retired. Mostly the last part of my career has been academic. So I've taught students this type of thing. I did have a small private practice since I moved to Kingston 22 years ago, but mostly I've taught, and I've taught since the late or mid to late 90s in the field, but also doing practice. So the points that you're asking, I think, have to do with the pain point. I think, is that the way you phrased it, Danny?
Yeah, the pain point. So like, just like any, endeavor, there's always going to be setbacks and things that you'd like to change, and roadblocks. Like, what are you facing day to day that you'd like to change?
So I don't know that I've ever heard anybody. I like the term pain point, but I'll equate that with getting stuck. So stuck points. Okay. Yeah. So when we say pain point, pain is subjective. So my pain point may be different than your pain point and how we define pain. But getting stuck in life transition for anybody, and personally for me, some of my stuck points is trying to have all the answers for people, and with a difficult case. And in counseling, and that's another podcast, counseling is not giving advice and telling people what they should and should not do. Counseling is helping people discover what they need to do to move forward for themselves. So when I come in, my stuck point often gets to, well, I think that you should be doing this, but I can't say that. I have to go with what they're doing and where they are with the process. So their journey, they're telling the story, and help them progress. So the key goals of any counseling, whether it's rehab or otherwise, is to help the individual understand their situation, understand their alternatives, understand what kind of options, find the resources for them, and help them move on to that next step.
So confidence, I would assume, has a big play in this. How do we build someone's confidence as they're going through this journey, Hal?
I think confidence is it's a good asset to have, but confidence has to do more with the way someone sees their identity. Who am I? What's going on? Am I happy with my own performance, my own self? So just like in any sport, and I know, Danny, you're a hockey player, former hockey player, high level, and curling, cycling, any kind of analogy, I just use that as a sports, since I think it's relevant. Most people can relate. If you don't believe that you have the ability, that's a real stuck point. So helping someone progress to finding themselves and helping them understand their identity, where they come into, what assets they bring to, how they potentially can be built on to make whatever goals, to achieve whatever goals. But also there's some limitations to what people can do. And we all have limitations. We all have some things that we can't do. Analogy that I used when I was teaching students is, I like basketball. I love the sport. I love to watch basketball. And I can play basketball. I can shoot, but I don't have that kind of aspiration to play at a high level because I just don't have the physique for basketball. That's just not my sport. I'm not going to make that. So that's both a physical and a psychological reality that I have to deal with. So what's the next best thing? If I'm interested in basketball, how can I be involved with basketball? Can I be a coach at a lower level or something along those lines? So it's multifaceted, and it makes it really difficult for some people to accept what's their identity. You mentioned the acceptance. If they don't have a good handle on what their identity is to begin with.
Interesting. And I guess like when you're going through those tough times, that's probably, as we said, no, we don't want to call it pain points, the stuck points, is that identity. It's once you're going through that kind of rehab, that can be a difficult conversation that you'd probably have to have with them, right, Hal? So can I ask, so just as far as like the living environment and the recovery process, like what should people consider in a home if they want to support like long-term independence?
Yeah, so the home persons where they live, the house is part of their overall environment. So it has to have be, first of all, physically accessible if that's an issue, but it also has to be accessible from the standpoint of making sure that all the elements that come along with what comes into where I live. If I live in a small space and I am not comfortable because I might have both physical accessibility problems. I can't turn around in the bathroom, for example. It's too small. But if I can make a space larger, my overall confidence comes back, and it ties back in with that identity. If you say if you can't access something, then you don't have the ability to say, you might be stuck with I'm limited. This is the only thing I can do. So that brings that self-confidence down. So having something in a house, and I'm going to try to relate this back to realty, and I apologize for maybe rambling a bit. It's not an easy question to answer. I think as far as physical housing, if I were to work with somebody who has an acquired disability, for example, where they can't use their legs, they use a wheelchair, they may have some upper body limitations. I want a space that has accessible entryways. I want a space that has accessible kitchen, but more than that, I also want a space that I feel comfortable that I can move around anywhere in the house in a wheelchair, and I don't feel like I'm limited to one corner or one room to the house. It needs to be a total picture.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of things should we look for when we're working with clients that are either considering retrofitting their home or looking for a new home that's better suitable? Like, how would you see that journey playing out for us?
I think the first thing that, from your perspective and helping people find their home, is to really talk with them and get to know, what kinds of things do you need for your daily activity of living in your house? What's your base as far as what they need? And they'll tell you, I need more light. I might have a lower vision. I need lots of windows. I need counter spaces, and so part of you're not rehabilitation professionals, but you are helping people. And part of that helping process is getting to know their story. It's like, tell me about what you need in a house to function daily. And those are very important from a physical perspective, in the house from a physical perspective. But they also might need a location. And I know what are the 3 words in real estate? Location, location, location. So is that house accessible if they're using public transportation? How far do they have to access a bus on their own, as opposed to calling an accessible that comes right to their house? Maybe they want to be more independent, so that's probably important to them. Do they have any other issues as far as needing more of a quiet house? So that might be either location in a not so crowded neighborhood as far as the house, maybe a more suburban setting or more lot size, but also what's the insulation in the house like? So it's really multifaceted as to what they need. But you two and all realtors can really ask those questions from that perspective.
It makes me wonder where occupational therapy plays in this for the client to understand their needs also. Could you comment on that?
I can very well comment on that, but I am not an OT. I'm married to an OT, and okay. Mark Rosemary would probably be the best person to answer that question. But occupational therapy is about getting people on with their lives in general, and oftentimes and historically it's involved ergonomics and space and getting to know. So an OT would be very much a good team member to have to help somebody get into their. Ideally, people that have disabilities are looking for a house. Hopefully they've already had some OT as part of their total rehabilitation perspective, and they should be able to come and with these sets of their own understanding what I need and be able to voice that. An OT would be somebody that would come in if somebody's not really sure what they're looking for. If you're looking at houses that are already accessible, that's one thing. If you're looking for modifications, that's another issue where occupational therapist or there are other rehab professionals that can come in and do an assessment, say what kind of upgrades. I would think that like any other house purchase or any sort of living situation, if there's something that needs to be modified, that could be part of the deal. It's like, okay, it's going to cost us another say $10,000 to have this a little bit wider and a ramp up and deal with the stairs. So that could be part of a negotiation with the purchase price, but then they'd have to find a contractor. So getting all that set up ahead of time, it might take a little more time to do that, but it certainly is not out of the question.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thanks for that, Hal. Let's pivot to more of the Broncos stuff here and get into the fun stuff. That's pretty heavy stuff, and I think you're doing a great job, and I think Law of Kingston would thank you for that. But let's talk about at least one rodeo store, some wild story that you had, whether it's riding or what you've kind of been a part of in that kind of rodeo scene.
Okay. Well, I had only one really broken bone incident in my rodeo, so I have to talk to you about that. And it was in a town in Texas, up in the Panhandle, north of where I grew up and where I was living, called Happy, Texas. So I had a rodeo injury in Happy, Texas at the rodeo.
That's there. Place, Happy, Texas.
We're gonna have
Happy, Texas. Kid you not? That's the name. That is the name of the town. And nice. You go when you drive into it's a little small village kind of. you drive into town and there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Happy Texas, a town without a frown." So, but I wasn't smiling after this accident. It was my senior year in high school, grade 12 for Canadians. And I made my ride on the horse. And when I started to, it's 8 seconds. 8 seconds seems like a long time. When I started to come off the horse to what's called the pickup rider, which is a horse that comes up beside you and you reach over to just grab the back of their saddle and come off the horse. Well, the horse that I had been riding decided to go the other direction. So I was in the middle, like, do I hold on to the horse that I was on? By the way, he had quit bucking after the 8 seconds. They pull a strap that makes the horse buck. So it was mostly kind of running. And my hand got hung up. I was on the side of the horse, feet down, and the horse stepped on my ankle, and that's what pulled me off the horse. So I was on crutches with a left thumb broken and a left ankle broken for most of my senior year. I got a great parking spot at the high school. And again, hey, I guess it has its advantages.
Yeah. Nice.
I don't think you'd wish that on you again just for a parking spot, though.
No. It was a tough way to get the parking spot, but yeah. But the sad part about that was because it was my last year in high school, and there's High School Rodeo Association. I was 2 points short of having enough points to go to the regional finals. Because I'd missed several rodeos. It was like it was at the very beginning of the school year, and I had to miss.
I was
going to
ask you if they treated rodeo in Texas like we treat high school sports here in Ontario.
It's a very big thing in parts of Texas for sure, and this was the tri-state. It was New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas Rodeo Association, and other than football in high school, it's probably one of the more, in some parts, one of the more prestigious sports to be involved with.
I believe that.
That's cool. Yeah. Some parts of the U.S. have like high school fishing teams too.
No way.
Yeah. That's how different certain areas in the U.S.
Is it an Olympic sport now, fishing?
I don't think so.
What about rodeoing? It's got to be close.
Rodeo would be a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know about rodeo being an Olympic sport. Could be but
if we got pistol shooting, that's an Olympian. Like, I think we can get rodeo, and I think we can get the other ones in too.
Maybe we can bring back the old West shows.
Yeah,
we'll have pistol shooting, bronc riding, and
leg wrestling.
Leg wrestling. Yeah, something like that. But rodeoing was a lifestyle, and getting back to that whole kind of tying it back in, is something that's how I saw my identity. I identified with my family from a farming and ranching heritage, both sides of the family, but and it was something in Texas kind of grew up. So I didn't have a lot of exploration at that point. I'll go back to a previous question, Mark, you asked about how did I transition into, being a rehab professional. I gave you the sort of the tie-in from the start with the book, but it really made me consider how an individual is related to other people in their environment, how that helps shape them, and also other settings that are part of that, who I am, who I relate to. So identity in a nutshell is how we see ourselves in relation to others in our lives. So there's no such thing as an individual identity. It's all tied into other people and other things, houses being one.
Is there anywhere else than Texas that can rival its barbecue?
Anywhere else in Texas that can?
No, anywhere else aside from Texas.
Apart from Texas that can. Well, again, I'm biased. I think Texas barbecue is the best style, and it is a style. South Carolina barbecue, it's a little too mustardy and has a little bit, different flavor. St. Louis barbecues and their ribs are really good. Not the store, not the restaurant, but that kind of style, Memphis. So there's all good barbecues, but the best thing I like about Texas barbecue, and one of the things you can find that distinguishes Texas barbecue is it's got that nice little tangy, almost a savory flavor to the sauce and the rubs and the smoking that goes on. So it's not sweet, but it's just sort of that perfect little flavor burst.
I walk into a Texas barbecue. What's the order?
You got to go with their brisket. If they make a good barbecue brisket, then that's it. Ribs are okay too, but brisket.
What sides?
You want the burnt ends. So when you go into a barbecue restaurant, you ask for brisket, ask for the burnt ends, which is historically what a lot of people, because it really is the burnt end in the cut when it gets a little more crispy on that end. And a lot of people don't realize that's where there's a lot of flavor and there's a lot of juice.
Oh yeah.
Is cornbread big in Texas also?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cornbread.
Dude, there's a Netflix show now that's like, where it's like a countdown, where it's like their cook-offs. It's huge down there.
Oh
now.
yeah.
If you tune in, it's like a 95% match in our house right now.
Yeah. So, do you have a smoker, Danny? I have a smoker at home. I'll do ribs periodically. No,
I can barely make cereal. So,
you put the milk in first, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like, couple last questions here, Hal, before we let you go here. If you, for most people to understand about disability and rehabilitation, like, what would be one thing that you could tell our audience that they should know?
Okay, that's a great question. About rehabilitation and disability is that people who have a disabling condition, they are first and foremost people first. And any one with a disability has all the normal angst and all the challenges of life that somebody without an identified disability has, but the disability is layered on top of that. So I've got to do the second part of that. People without a disability or that don't know about people with disabilities, don't expect just because someone's using a wheelchair that they're going to be like the next person that uses a wheelchair, or somebody who's blind is going to be like the next person who's blind, and so on and so forth. They're individuals first.
Yeah. Nice.
So we're going to finish this off with some rapid fire. Danny's a big cold plunge guy. Yep. Ice bath or heat therapy?
Heat.
You lose. So we didn't talk about this, but you're also a big cycling guy. You went from one saddle to the other, from bucking Broncos to the bike saddle. Cycling a big hill or sweeping a rock end to end?
I'm going to go with cycling a big hill.
All right.
Okay.
Texas barbecue or Quebec poutine?
Oh, no question about it. Barbecue, Texas barbecue.
I would go with that too. Early morning bike ride or a late night bonspiel?
An early morning bike ride, but not after a late night bonspiel.
That is the answer. And we'll end it there, Hal. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been a blast. Yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Hal.
Again, thanks for Hal for coming on, a great friend of mine for I don't know, 15 plus years in Kingston. And for anyone who knows him or is a friend of his, he's a great friend. So we certainly thank Hal for coming on, and the support of Almost Home that drew also. So good on everyone here. Yes. We raised a little bit of funds. But let's talk NHL playoffs right now. Sure. I'll be totally honest with you. I haven't watched many series aside from the Montreal Canadiens, the Tampa Bay series. And I thought from puck drop that one was going to 7. And man, what a goalie battle.
Oh, both goalies.
Yeah, unreal. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the passing of the torch, though, with Vasilevsky. He's been so good for so long, and now Dobas has come in. But these guys are so big. If you've ever tried, like, scoring on a goalie that's 6'5", like just even a beer league goalie that doesn't move very well, like there's no net to shoot at. And then you mix in guys that are like ninjas in there. It's like,
yeah, we've got a couple in our beer league that, yeah, they just fill the net.
There's no space. They make the net look like a mini hockey rink. Yeah. It's like, where are you going to, like, you literally have to get those perfect goals, and those Game 7 goals are like, you know, a perfect example of it, where it's just a puck deflecting or tips in front.
Did you watch Game 7 of the Montreal Tampa game?
I was on the ice, so I was teaching hockey, so I wasn't, but I did watch the highlights. So
did you see the shots on goal?
Yes, I did. Now, I do have a lot to say about the shots on goal, though, because a lot of teams do just throw a lot of pucks on net.
Right.
And the analytics say that if you shoot the puck like straight shot, no screen, like your chances of scoring are anywhere between like 1, 2, or 3%. So it's like a really like low probability of scoring.
Right.
But if you're able to pass across that golden road, which is called the T, so if you could draw an imaginary line from the middle of the net, basically to the blue line, that goes parallel to the length of the ice. If you're able to get a pass across that T with an immediate shot, your scoring percentage goes up by like 33%. So I do believe in shot quality as opposed to quantity. I made a living off of that, having just like really high shot volume and just putting up really good numbers by like really low scoring percentage shots.
How do you do that as a goalie to force shots that are high percentage saves?
You don't force it with the goal. It's the coaching.
Okay, so you had coaches that were driving that because they knew that you were well positioned on those saves.
For sure. And if you watch like Marty St. Louis, the way that he coaches, like even on the penalty kill, like they would even let that net, like the guy by the net, just come walk right in, because the goalie knew it was going to be like a one-on-one situation, which with Dobas, like you have a really high probability that he's going to make that save. And if you watch, like Montreal's like literally giving him the shot because they're taking away all the passes. So I thought it was like brilliant between the coaching, you know, the players themselves, and like Montreal is the second youngest team in the league right now. Like good for them. Like they're starting something really good on that sense. So
and I am a Habs fan, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they go this year. Hopefully they can go deep, but yeah, for the future, it's super exciting.
I think if Toronto or Montreal or even Ottawa, somewhere like that's close to us, is in the playoff mix, I think that's good for hockey. Even Montreal, Toronto, they're the most wealthiest franchises. Probably have the most following out of any other team, we could probably say. But yeah, like I feel bad for the liver to have to go through another round here with the Montreal Canadiens playing again. So,
yeah. What about the other series? Like I said, I haven't been following it closely, but I know you probably have something to say.
I don't think there's any surprises other than probably Edmonton losing, but anybody that's been following hockey knows that like Edmonton's kind of
hasn't been their year.
No, they're in a tough spot, just with McDavid and Draisaitl just carrying the load. They've made some really tough decisions contract wise with personnel. So, yeah.
Do you think those guys stay?
They got 2 more years together, and I think that's it.
Okay,
but it's too bad because like you can relate them to like Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. Like it was pretty much, but they got 3 cups, you know. So I do think that, you know, balls were dropped on the management side, like not getting one. They still don't have a goalie,
right?
You know, no disrespect to Jari and Ingram, but like you can't say that they're anywhere near what Vasilevsky is, or even Dobas, or even the guys that have won the cups in the past. Like those guys are huge and they can move. So when you have those two, like the combination, like you just get those blind saves that the goalie doesn't see, but it hits you because you're a mutant.
Edmonton probably is a tough market to attract players to also, right?
Well, yeah. And we don't want to get into the tax bracket stuff, right? Because then you get taxed at what, 53%, 54%, as opposed to going to Florida where you're taxed at a lot less,
Right.
But
it is a factor. Like, we can't ignore it.
No,
yeah.
you can't. Yeah. I am interested to see these playoffs. So, like, with the emergence of the stretch breakout. So anyone that's been following the hockey, like, the stretch breakout has just been emerging this year. So it's like it's taken away the heaviness of the Florida Panthers, because every team saw them win the last 2-3 years, almost 3 years, right? Because they went to the finals, on how heavy they made the game. Well, now with the stretch breakout, like, you see breakouts, and it's like teams aren't even sending 3 guys; they're only sending 2, and then the rest of the guys are by the neutral zone. So it's interesting to see that it's going to more of a skating, really high skill, fast paced game, which is really cool to see. I did see this coming with Colorado in the emergence and how fast they are too. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out going down the stretch.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's junior hockey, AHL hockey, NHL hockey, playoff hockey is just different.
It is.
Oh my goodness, it's so entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I think there's like the heaviness, but also like the hard skill too.
Yeah.
Where like you're kind of your flash, it doesn't necessarily work all the time, where it's more of like a chess game. So you're seeing the goaltending, you're seeing the coaching come out, and then the intelligent players too. So I think the game's is in probably the best spot it's ever been as far as viewership, revenue, and the skill of these players. It's like next level, and you really don't get to appreciate it until you get on with somebody that's playing pro, like recently, because you get on there and you're just not going to get the puck, and it's going to be on the guy's stick the whole time. So pretty cool. Let's get into some golf, shall we?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. Life's been busy, and I watched the Masters. Rory McIlroy defended his Masters title, so now has gone from not having a green jacket to 2, which is great. We love Rory.
Love Rory.
Yeah.
And I think he's been on the cusp of majors so many times and failed. So it's nice to see him.
Yeah, he was a phenom at a young age.
Yes.
And then the majors stopped piling up for him. And I root for Rory. I like Rory a lot.
But it's not like he's been playing bad golf. He's just like having troubles with the putter, right? That's kind of his thing.
He the start of his career was very much like, I'll say, Tiger-esque, in a sense that he ran away with some majors, and then later on, he's on the back 9 of his career now.
Yeah.
As he aged, we didn't see those wins. He's not winning by a million anymore.
No.
Like, the Masters. Truth be told, I fell asleep.
No.
Like, he just kind of hung on, and
it was those edibles the night before. Though, isn't
it? Well, I don't think they stay in your system that long. But no, I was just kind of sleepy from a busy week, and was laying down on the couch and dozing on and off, and Rory's putting on the green jacket. It would have been fun. It's always more fun to see your leader get pressed a little bit, and he just kind of coasted it in.
Yeah.
We've got the PGA Championship coming up here. I think it's 2 weekends from now. And what I'm really seeing in golf right now is the LIV Tour. The LIV Tour looks like it's headed down a path where it's probably not going to exist, or certainly not going to exist with the players that we see. A lot of those better players are coming back to the PGA Tour. And what's been interesting also with the LIV Tour is your better players that moved over there, not immediately, but as time went on, they were not as competitive in the major championships, because they're not seeing the same level of competition week in and week out. When they do get into that pressure cooker of a major, their game hasn't been the same. Like, Bryson hasn't been the same. Rahm hasn't been the same. Those better players that moved over have just not been the same in the majors.
Is that just because of the pressure cooker, like, shots that basically, like, people don't understand how much, that takes on a shot, like a 3-foot putt changes when it's all of a sudden it's like the title's on the line, right?
So twofold, the players on the LIV Tour, although there were some good ones that moved over, it's still not the same weekend and week out. But also the golf courses that they play are not as strong as a test.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw a stat on greens in regulation, live versus the PGA Tour. The greens in regulation percentage on the live tour were very, very high versus the PGA Tour courses stats. And that's just because of the difficulty of courses. So they're not being tested both in caliber of fields and caliber of golf courses week in and week out.
But
financially, the live tour also appears like it's not good for them right now.
It's drying up.
Yeah.
Because like when guys came over there, they were like guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Whether you won or lost, you only played 3 rounds. Like everything just seemed like it was like roses, but now you're seeing it switch back to like the classic PGA.
I know we'll see. We're seeing changes in the PGA Tour for sure, which will make it more viewer friendly.
Yeah,
it'll be more fun.
Is there a shot clock now with the
they're starting to there's a pilot program on the Corn Ferry Tour this year where they're actually publicizing the pace of play of the guys, and they're testing it to bring it to the PGA Tour. Yeah,
because having somebody watch somebody like 5 minutes line up or putt or like a sand shot, you're like, my God.
Well, it's like the pitch count in baseball. Since that's come in, really improved the viewership of the game. I know you're not a baseball guy, but it's for people awesome. that were. It's great. Yeah, it's you get more action in your in the game.
Yeah. Can we get into baseball now?
I would love to.
Yeah.
I'm a big Blue Jays guy, as a lot of us here in Canada are. It's been a rough start,
right?
Yeah, injuries. Like they're hanging on with their record, but I mean,
it's not the same though. Like was this like not a magical ride like last year with the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, the season's so long that we can't say that the Blue Jays aren't going to be great this year. But I'm watching the game last night and I'm like, who are these guys? It feels like I'm watching the Buffalo Bisons, right? Like we've got so many guys hurt right now that it's tough. And knock on wood, we still have Vladdy in the lineup, and that's about it seems. Yeah.
Can we get to is it like automated though, like balls and strikes? Have they got to that point?
It's a challenge system now, which I love. Okay. I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yes.
When there's a pitch that the catcher or the pitcher thinks should be a strike and it was called a ball, you can challenge it, and the batter can also challenge it if he thinks it's if a called strike he thought was a ball. So you tap the top of your head, and that's the signal for the challenge. It happens really fast.
What about the manager though? Can they challenge?
I think they signal to the batter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You sometimes see the batter looking over, or they'll immediately do it too.
Because they have to have that information on the sidelines, whether it's a ball or strike.
Really quickly though, it happens really, really fast. So it's not a lengthy process. The result happens really quickly.
That's awesome.
So it really doesn't affect the flow of the game. In fact, I think it builds some excitement because the whole crowd's then watching.
Yeah.
What's this gonna do? And you can hear them cheer or groan after, right?
Yeah. Like you wonder what difference that would have made in the course of history of baseball had they had that.
That's a great question.
Right? Yeah. I bet you there's some series or World Series champions that are no longer champions if they had that.
Could be. Yeah. Could be. Yeah. I think of the most notable one. There was a pitcher that had, I don't know if it was a perfect game or a no-hitter going into the last out of the game, and there was a blown call at first. He called him safe. He was actually out. But here's how this thing ended cool. And I can't remember the teams at play here or the pitcher at play. So the next game, the pitcher from that game. So before a baseball game starts, the manager brings up a lineup card to the umpire at home plate. The umpire from first base was at home plate for this game. The pitcher from the previous game brought the lineup card out to the umpire. Oh, okay. It was just like, everything's okay. We're good. We all make mistakes. But yeah, it would have been nice to get a call like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And no one feels worse than the umpire.
Oh, I bet. Especially after you watch that on TV.
Like you're still trying to call the game straight up. Of course, everyone wants to see this no hitter.
You're never going to be perfect, right?
Yeah, he thought the runner was out, and it happens. So we kind of went off the rails there.
No, I know. Can we talk a little bit about Easter Seals? Because I know you're a big supporter on Easter Seals.
Thanks for bringing this up. Yeah. So I joined Rotary about 3 weeks ago. So I'm now a Rotarian.
Okay. Can you explain?
Yeah. So Rotary is a service group that provides support to certain, to various organizations in our community it could be for our most vulnerable sector, like just everything. Anything that has a need for support in our community.
Nice.
It's a lot of business people that sit in Rotary, and we just try to provide support to the community.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I remember you saying on our group chat with our brokerage that you're going for the Golden Heart Award.
Golden Heart Award. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was a voting system. So I'm like, hey, Mark, you got my vote, but apparently it's not a voting system.
No, you have to raise a certain amount of funds for Easter Seals. So as part of Rotary, I'm now also sitting on the Easter Seals committee because Linda Cloutier, who's heavily involved in Easter Seals in our local community, become a good friend of mine, and I'll be heavily involved with Easter Seals. Easter Seals, for those that don't know, is an organization that provides support for those with disabilities in our community.
Okay.
So to provide equipment or various things to break through certain barriers.
Nice.
So this kind of ties into.
So does that make me a better person just by having a conversation with you now?
I think it does.
Okay, that's good.
It will shine some light on some of the charitable things in our community for sure.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't know you were going to bring that up, so thanks for doing that.
No, it's really good.
I'm actually working on. I don't want to reveal the details on it yet because I haven't had it confirmed, but I'm working on a birthday event where, in lieu of gifts, I'm asking people to make a donation to Easter Seals. So I love doing these things.
When is your birthday?
I'm not going to say that.
Why not?
It's June 24th, Danny.
It's going to be on Facebook. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it sure is. It's June 24th.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah. Only a few years ago.
Okay. And I know it is a real estate podcast, but can we talk a little bit of what's going on? It is the time of year, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely a time of year that we're seeing more listings out there. It's still a funny market. I feel like there's certain pockets of the market that are very strong. If it will be a broken record if you price correctly. So pricing is always key.
And I don't think people like to do renovations anymore.
Yeah, readiness of homes is definitely huge.
Yeah, if you're a seller out there looking for even just trying to get your house sold quickly, getting those loose ends tied up would really help, right?
Yeah, presentation and price correctly.
Yeah, and what about on the buyer side? What can we talk about there?
Yeah, so it's definitely we would call it a buyer's market in most cases.
Yeah,
I think in our lower priced homes right now, entry level, still fairly competitive.
Yep.
But certainly if you're looking at the upper prices in our market right now, I would call it buyer friendly.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's what the stats say, right?
Yeah.
The other part too is interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They really haven't, they've kind of stabilized here this last month.
Yeah, and it'll be not to get political, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with what's going on globally and what may happen to interest rates as a result.
Oh, you don't want to talk politics on here, Mark? We talk politics all the time on the phone.
You can talk politics. I'll watch you.
Why don't we talk about things that we can talk about? Why don't we talk about just HST rebate for new home builds?
Yeah, I love that.
New builds, but you also first-time home buyers. Those are two different things, right?
Well, there's no HST on resale. So
you're right.
With new builds now, HST rebate is now available to everyone, not just first-time home buyers.
Right.
So this is for those that were considering a new build or a custom build. You're now HST exempt.
Yes, but here's the kind of caveat: the home builders just decrease their prices, but in previous years they would just say HST is included, right? So that the HST, the builder would just get that back at tax time. So you just have to look at the price point and what you're getting, especially if you're going right to Carrico or one of the bigger homes. So just make sure you know what you're getting and you're pricing things out, and obviously that it's Tarion warranted too.
Yeah, and I'm actually going through this with a buyer right now where we had a little setback because of building permits. It was in an area that was just going through permits, and the lot that they were trying to buy is now slated. The permit is trying to push it towards the end of the build rather than the start of the build. So there's a lot of minutia with when it comes to buying new builds.
Yeah. And obviously, as a realtor, that's our job to help too. But usually with the permits and title, that is dealt with at the lawyer's office, which we obviously have people that we work with at the lawyer's office just to make sure permits and title are in good standing. I actually had a minor hockey buddy just go through it where there was a whole bunch of liens and open permits on it, and it was up to the lawyers to figure out who was responsible for what. It is all done by the sellers, but it was on the buying lawyer, solicitor, to make sure that those were completed and closed prior to closing. So that's really important to know.
I actually think it's very important for realtors to know when you're going beyond your level of expertise.
Oh yeah.
And how we handle it then is through conditions.
Yeah.
We can get ourselves into a lot of trouble trying to provide legal advice to people, and we should not. So that's why there's solicitor reviews.
Yeah, I just use ChatGPT. It's ironclad.
Well,
that's a joke. That's a joke. That is a joke. Obviously, we can use ChatGPT for a lot, but these are just some of the nuances that we can talk about here on the podcast. We probably talk about real estate for maybe 5% of this thing. It's usually just snapping the puck around, as we like to say.
You pushed us a little further today, and I thank you for that.
That's good. That's good.
So I think that's about it for episode 20. Once we get to 21, we're better than 95% of podcasts because they don't make it there.
Oh, there you go.
So we'll have to do at least one more
in a rows, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks again. This has been episode 20 of Pucks, Putts, and Properties. Thanks for tuning in.
See you guys.